Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome to Woodworking Against the Grain. Look here, we're going to cook some more Cajun stuff today. We're going to make some crawfish bisque, kind of like a crawfish chowder. It's going to have a lot of cream and corn in it. It's going to be some good stuff. I can't take credit for this recipe. This recipe comes from a cousin of mine in Mount Pleasant, Texas. So I want to give a good shout out to Susan Gage. And it's a refreshing thing to me to know someone of this younger generation still likes to cook, likes to get to the stove and build up a bunch of good home cooking like this. It's going to be an off-the-chain recipe, I can tell from the ingredients that are in it. The reason we're not in the kitchen yet is because I wanted to show you something we made in the Woodworking Against the Grain shop. I know I do a lot of cooking videos, don't video a lot of the woodworking yet, but I'm trying to do more of that. This is a hall tree that we made out in the shop a couple of weekends ago that you put inside the entryway there to put your keys and hats and all this kind of stuff. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and let you see it just to prove to you that we do actually do a little bit of woodworking on this channel. And then we're going to go to the kitchen, make some crawfish bisque and some hush puppies to go with it. Stay with us. On the top of this thing, we've got a couple of baskets that you can put your billfold and just all kinds of odds and ends in there. Zoom in a little too far there. And then it's got some hooks under the bottom there to hang your keys and your hat and your belt, all that. Down at the bottom, we made it out of raised panel material. And it's got a black walnut top, and this chest here opens up. You put all your boots and your lunchbox and all that good stuff in there. Something we threw together out there in the Woodworking Against the Grain shop. Now we're going to the kitchen. We're going to cook some crawfish bisque. All right, we're about ready to get this crawfish bisque started here. I'm going to zoom this camera in this Dutch oven in a minute so you can see what's going on in here. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about this recipe first. Like I said a few minutes ago, this recipe comes from a cousin of mine, lives in Mount Pleasant, Texas. That's why I wanted to make sure that I wore my Arkansas Razorback apron, because we put such a whooping on them the other day in the football game. I thought they would like to see that advertising. I've never made this recipe before, but I know this is going to be a really good recipe because I can tell from the ingredients that are in this. I'm going to zoom this camera out for a minute where you can, or in for a minute where you can see what's going on in this pot. We're going to start by putting a stick of butter and some onion in there and some flour, and we're going to make a blonde roux that we're going to cook this stuff on top of. And I'm going to turn the camera where you can see what's going on, because when you make a roux, to get it to the right stage is critical. If you cook it too long, it tastes scorched. If you don't cook it long enough, it tastes like raw flour. So you have to kind of practice on that and get it just right. This one is a little bit different from some of the other roux that I've made in that you cook this with the onions. So we're going to give that a shot. Stay with us. This is going to be good. We're going to fry some hush puppies after a while to go with it. It's going to be yummy to eat. Any recipe, now remember this, any recipe that starts off with a stick of butter can't be all bad. I think all recipes ought to have a stick of butter in them, but that's just me. We're going to build a pretty big fire under this Dutch oven right here, medium to medium high heat. And we're going to start out with a stick of butter. To that butter, we're going to add one large minced onion. Now, when this butter melts, we're going to cook this onion till it's translucent. Once it gets kind of clear, we're going to add the flour, start making this roux. We'll let that butter melt, get happy. Cook this onion up a little bit before we add that flour to it. Got our butter melted up here good. We're going to just kind of cook this onion a little bit till it gets a little bit tender, a little bit translucent. We don't want to go all the way to caramelization with it. We just want to get them cooked a little tender. Doesn't take long. Got to keep this stuff moving around. We got a pretty good fire under it. We don't want it to scorch. Now, I'm about to add some flour to this, and when I do, you cannot stop stirring or you'll burn this up. So you need to have everything lined out when you start this recipe, because you can't leave it and come back. You go outside to take the trash out or feed the dogs or whatever, change the baby, you're going to lose this roux. We got 2 heaping tablespoons of all-purpose flour right here. We're just going to dump it in there, and stirring starts. Now it's going to pick up that butter. It's going to get thick, and we're going to cook it till it's about the color of peanut butter. If you can see down in there, you can see that this roux is starting to be just about the color we want it to be. We don't want it to go all the way to a brown roux. We want it to keep this blonde look to it. Now, that's going to be just about right in there. So I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. All the while I'm still stirring this up, you see. Keep that in mind. That's going to change our color, but we had our roux just right when we started right there. Keep this going just a little bit here. Right here I've got 2 tablespoons of Tabasco sauce. That's fixing to give this a little bit of a kick. And here's a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. It's going to give it a little bit of punch. Now that's a lot of concentrated flavor right there. That's going to be good to eat. I'm going to tell you right now it is. Now, what I'm going to do is put this whisk down, and I'm going to add 2 cans of cream-style corn, plus a can of whole kernel corn. And you don't want to drain your whole kernel corn. You want to leave the juice in that. We want to keep this stirring. Keep the fire under it. We don't want to scorch it. Now that corn is going to cool this down a little bit here, which is what you want, because now here's the grand ingredient going in this stuff. I wish you could see this whole. You'll see it as I pour it in. I'm about to pour into this Dutch oven right here. Look here. First I'm going to pour in a half a cup of white wine. Give that just a little bit of a stir. And now I'm going to pour in 1.5 quarts of heavy cream. I did say heavy cream. This is not milk. This is pure, heavy whipping cream. This is what's going to make a puppy pull a freight train. Now, I'm going to stir that just a little bit. I'm going to add this crawfish tail meat, and then we're going to bring this to a boil, back up to a good boiling point. Then we're going to turn the fire way down low and let her simmer for about 30 good minutes. So let's go ahead and get this. We got about 1.5 pounds of crawfish tail meat here. If you don't like crawfish tail meat, you're probably not going to like this dish. If you do, it's going to be off the chain right here. We're going to get that meat in there and get it happy. Now I'm going to bring this back to a boil, turn it down to simmer, put a lid on it, forget about it for 30 minutes while I fry up some good old hush puppies to go with this. I'm going to zoom out here in just a minute. We'll finish this off, see how good she is, taste of it, see whether or not our Texas cousin's worth her salt or not. Don't go away. stay right with us. All right, this chowder's been simmering here for about 30 minutes. We're about to see how good this stuff is. I can find a spoon to get some out with. You can just tell by looking at that it's going to be really good to eat. Get some of that crawfish off there. We're going to taste of this. Get just a little bit of it out here and just see how good it's going to be. Got me some of this in the bowl. It's just about cool enough to eat now. Taste of it here and see what we think about this. Make sure we get a good crawfish tail or two there. Susan, if all your recipes are that good, you need to come share some more with me and cook some with me. Thanks for watching. Come back and see.